Where should I live next? All good questions. Where should I live? Or better yet, where should you live? Or where should we live? Is there a better place than where we are right now? Lower cost of living, lower taxation, better lifestyle, surfing, being near the ocean. Is it digital nomad friendly? Currently for 2024, I've narrowed it down to about 7 or 8 spots. I'm gonna share them with you in this video, and maybe you'll end up finding your way there yourself. They hit all the check boxes. It has low cost of living, low rent, low food, good health care, it's safe, it's easy to get there, it has a great lifestyle. They all have surfing and are by the ocean, which is really important to me. And they're friendly to digital nomads. You can live and work online, and there's great internet access. So let's take a look in depth on each one and figure out where would be a good spot to go. By the way, if you just moved somewhere and you love it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So tell me where you think you should go next, or I should go next, or whatever. I'd love to hear about all the good digital nomad hotspots. All right, let's do it. Okay, the first thing to do is look at the Numbeo cost of living. Got quality of life, crime, healthcare. Let's look at the cost of living index first. And these are all the countries in the world. Let's sort it by rent. The highest rent in the world is New York, United States. So let's scroll down and find something down here. Somewhere around here. Let's start with Portugal. Okay, so I heard a lot of good things about Portugal. Let's take a look in US dollars and compare it to my city. I'm currently in Toronto. So it looks like there's about a 40% to 50% difference, maybe even. So meals are, let's see, at a restaurant, 40% cheaper in Portugal. So the average meal is $18 in Toronto. It's only $10 in Portugal. These are in US funds. Let's say domestic beer. Wow. $6. Yeah, that sounds about right. One beer. And in Portugal, it's only $2 US, $2.16 for a beer. Interesting. Let's take a look at, how are the eggs here? Okay, so the eggs are cheaper. Milk is cheaper. So groceries are cheaper across the board. Let's take a look at transportation. Taxis are a little more money. Gasoline's a little more money. Interesting. Let's take a look at the rent. For basic electricity, heating, cooling, and water, slightly cheaper in Portugal. Wow. A monthly phone plan is only $19.50 compared to Toronto. Internet's cheaper. Fitness clubs are cheaper. Clothing looks like it's about the same. Oh, this is interesting. Rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in the city. Whoa! Definitely big savings here. You have Toronto is around $1,800 for in the city center, and in Aveiro, Portugal is only $850. And that's US funds. So the apartments are definitely cheaper. Okay. So that's not bad. Portugal is on my list. Let's take a look at something even cheaper than Portugal. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so here we are. Here's a little spreadsheet that I got. By the way, this is available in my link in the description of this video. If you want to take a look at it yourself, I'll leave it for you. It's kind of handy. Spain is next. All right. Okay, next. This one I was really excited about. Puerto Escondino. Hopefully I pronounced that right. My Spanish isn't the greatest, but this is in Mexico. And this has right near the ocean. It's a surf spot, and the cost of living compared to the States is just insane. Just for fun, I compared it to New York. And now these prices are getting cheaper. They're cheaper than Portugal. They're cheaper than Spain. So you can see that the average meal for 2 people is only around $42 US, where in New York you're looking at $130. One beer is around $2. You can buy a Coke or a Pepsi for 99 cents. Okay. Groceries are a lot cheaper. You can get 12 eggs, a dozen eggs for about $2.43, where it's double the price in the States. How much is for chicken? Chicken, $4.39 for 1 pound of chicken. Okay. So it's definitely cheaper for terms of food. Monthly transportation, not sure about that. It looks like taxis are cheaper. You pay more for gasoline per gallon, which is interesting. Okay, utilities. Wow. So half the cost of New York, it's only around $60 a month for basic utilities. Let's take a look at fitness clubs, are next to nothing. You're looking at $20 compared to $140. Clothes, not sure, but doesn't have any data on clothes. Okay, let's take a look at the rent. Wow, 1-bedroom apartment in New York is $4,000. Holy Dinah. Anyways, you can get a 1-bedroom in a city center and for around $430 US. And if you go outside the city center, it's a little more money. Interesting. Okay, so it's definitely cheaper. So Mexico is definitely on my list. I think I even might be leaning towards Mexico more than Portugal or Spain. I'm not quite sure yet. I still have 5 other locations to look at, and one is still in Southeast Asia. So let's jump on to the next cheapest location. So next up is Belize. Now this one I really am interested in because apparently it's super easy to open a bank account and a business in Belize. They're very open to foreigners when it comes to digital nomads, banking, visas, and long-term living. So just for fun, I compared it to Barcelona, Spain, and it's in euros this time, just to give people a different, perspective on cost of living. And you can see it's cheaper. So meals are definitely cheaper. You're looking at 60% cheaper. Let's say beer is only $2 euro, where it's $3 in Barcelona. Let's keep moving along here. Okay. Wow, milk is really expensive in Belize for some reason. Interesting. It looks like the groceries are for the most part cheaper. Like there's the odd thing, or apples are really expensive. So I guess you could skip that and maybe go for oranges and bananas and stuff like that. Looks like it's kind of a mixed bag. It looks like overall, I think some food is much cheaper, like chicken fillets, and then there's the odd ones that are really expensive. Maybe it's hard to import for some reason. Bottle of wine, for example, is more expensive if you want a bottle of red wine, or bottle of wine mid-range. Looks like it's about $9 euro compared to Spain. Anyways, let's look at the transportation. Now remember, I'm comparing. Barcelona is actually not a overly expensive city. Belize is definitely cheaper than Mexico, and Belize is definitely cheaper than the United States. I just wanted to compare it with one we've already looked at, was Spain. Spain's a fairly affordable place to live. So I thought I'd just, so keep that in mind, that Belize is the cheapest city we've looked at so far, at all of them. And anyways, let's take a look at the rent. Okay, so you can see that you're looking at $65 euro for basic utilities. So it's cheaper than Barcelona. And fitness clubs cheaper. Let's go down to clothes. Clothes are cheaper. Okay, 1-bedroom apartment. This is what I really wanted to see. Wow. So you're only paying around, for a 1-bedroom apartment, $328 euros. And compared to Barcelona, where you're looking at 1,200 euros. Okay, interesting. So Belize is definitely on my
one of my top picks, I think, so far. And out of all the cities, as I said, Belize is cheaper. But let's go even cheaper. Let's see if we can find something even cheaper. We'll put a pin in this for now and get back to it. Okay, so this is the cheapest city we've looked at out of all of them so far. We are at Medeline, Colombia. And this city is actually, we're going to compare it just for fun to Mexico City. Now, we have to remember cities in Mexico are cheaper than Mexico City itself. Mexico City is quite expensive and touristy. But just for fun, just to give you a comparison and just to mix it up a little bit, well, we're looking in US dollars here. Now, I picked Medeline because they're friendly to digital nomads. They have a digital nomad program. They have a visa that you can get. They're open, so they have internet there. It's like there's a community there. So that's why I picked this one. Not only that, it has a low cost of living, and it's not right near the beach, but there is a beach close by. Like you can drive to the beaches. So let's look at obviously the meals are very inexpensive here. Like everything's about 40% cheaper. Beer, you're looking at domestic beer for $1.50. Cappuccinos, you're paying about $1.66 US, which is definitely cheaper than Mexico City. 98 cents for a Pepsi. Okay. Milk is cheaper. What about eggs? $2 for a dozen. Okay. Let's take a look at the beef. Fruit is relatively cheaper. Okay. Wine's a little cheaper. I don't smoke, so let's skip the cigarettes, but they're cheaper too. Okay, one way, let's look at transportation. Whoa. So transportation is more expensive than Mexico City for some reason. I'm not really sure why. It's about some are slightly more, some are a little more. Like the taxis are slightly more. Gasoline is cheaper. Huh. Utilities are more expensive than Mexico City. That's weird. Clothing is slightly cheaper. And let's look at the rent. That's what I'm most concerned about. And you're looking at Medeline. You can get a one-bedroom apartment for $460 US. And in the city center, compared to Mexico City, it's around $1,000 US. Okay, so it's cheaper than all the others that we've looked at so far. And we'll look at the safety. We'll look at healthcare and safety of the country a little later on in the video. I just wanted to get through the cost of living. Okay, so that was Medeline. So we got two more on our list. Let's check out the last two. These are the cheapest ones on my list. Here we go. This is even cheaper than any city we've talked about so far. This is San Juan del Sur in Nicaragua. And let's take a look at, now I'm comparing it to London, UK, just for fun. And this is let's put it in USD funds, just probably most of you, it's easier to break it down in US. So meals are about 80% cheaper. McDonald's is 45% cheaper. You can get a meal for about $5.60 compared to $10. So you're looking at half the price. Groceries, milk is cheaper, eggs are cheaper, 50% cheaper. It looks like there's some data missing, but generally speaking, wine is cheaper. So it looks like on the most part, chicken fillets are cheaper. So food's cheaper. There's some information missing for transportation. Gasoline is definitely cheaper. It's only $4.68 per gallon compared to the United Kingdom, which is $7.38 a gallon. Utilities are crazy cheap. You're looking at $80 a month compared to London, which is almost $400 US. Gym fees are half the price, so it's looking pretty good. And the thing about Nicaragua is the surfing is amazing. This city in particular, San Juan del Sur, is a digital hotspot. There's great weather all year round, and they're friendly to digital nomads. There's good internet access, and apartments are super cheap. Like, look at this. You can get a one-bedroom apartment for $425 US, 84% cheaper than the United Kingdom. Insane. Okay, So you can see that this is definitely a top pick for me. We'll look at the safety factor of San Juan del Sur a little later, but for now we'll pin that as well. Let's look at the last one. All right, and our last location is Sri Lanka. And in particular, there's a city in Sri Lanka called Colombo, and we're going to compare it to Washington, D.C. just for fun. This is the cheapest cost of living out of all the cities and countries we've looked at so far in this video. And we'll look at the safety factors of the next after we're done the cost of living. So you can see meals are incredibly cheap, 86% cheaper. Same thing, beer, chicken fillets are 61% cheaper. And you can go through this index and see that transportation is insanely cheap. You get a monthly transportation pass for $6. Did I put this in US funds? Yep. $6 for a monthly transit pass? That's crazy compared to the US, which is around $75. Taxis start at 40 cents. Oh my goodness. Gasoline is actually a little more expensive. Isn't that interesting? Okay, well anyways, utilities are half the price or a third of the price, and the fitness clubs are only $14 versus $100. Let's take a look at clothing, super cheap. Okay, this is the biggest one I wanted to look at was the rent. For a one-bedroom apartment, you're looking at $268 US compared to Washington, D.C., which is around $2,500 US. So that gives you an idea that it is definitely a cheap country to live in. Let's take a look at the safety out of all these countries. That would be the next thing to take a look at. So let's flip over to my little spreadsheet here that I made. I've already gone ahead and done the index, checked the index on safety, and I actually put them in some sort of order. Let's take a look. Portugal, I couldn't find any data on. I'll have to come back and check that one. But Spain was a safety score of 0.80. So a perfect safety score would be 1. So for example, San Francisco, to give you some comparison, San Francisco has a safety factor of 0.62. So actually, Spain is safer than San Francisco, United States. Mexico was at 0.42. And Costa Rica, we didn't talk about, but I had this on here just for fun. That's another hotspot, 0.66. Belize, I couldn't find a safety score. I'll have to check other sources for that. We'll get back to that. Medeline was not very safe in terms of this index score of 0.12. So it doesn't seem like it's the safest of the countries. I think it's the worst score out of all of them. There was Argentina as well. We didn't talk about Argentina, but I had that on my list as well. It's another cheap place to go. And then here's Nicaragua. It's at 0.41. So it's the same as the Philippines, to give people an idea. Like I've been in the Philippines for 4 or 5 months, and I felt very safe there. I know lots of solo female travelers that go to Nicaragua and the Philippines, and the safety score for Sri Lanka is 0.75. So you can see here that the safety scores vary from country to country. It's really hard to pick. Like I'm personally leaning towards, I would say, Nicaragua. Just because it's cheap for me to fly there from Canada. It's only around $250. But I think I'd like to try a month in each place. That's the only way to really know for sure. I kind of done Sri Lanka already, so I think I'm leaning towards something in Central America or South America. Belize, so I'm leaning towards Nicaragua or Belize. There's lots of good surfing in Nicaragua, so it'll probably be Nicaragua. But who knows? I won't know till I get there, but hopefully this video helped you, and I'll see you in the next video.